Most boaters think anchoring is about weight and chain, but the real secret hides in physics. One wrong angle and you'll drift like a leaf. One right setup and even a lunch hook can hold through a midnight storm. Today, we're revealing every anchor physics secret every owner should know. Let's go. Let's bust one of boating's oldest myths. Heavy doesn't always mean strong. Too many people think the heavier the anchor, the better it'll hold. In reality, an anchor's shape and geometry do most of the work. A 20-pound Rockna or Mantis can outperform an old 45-pound CQR, not because it's tougher steel, but because it's smarter science. Here's how it really works. Anchors act like underwater wings. When tension pulls on the shank, the fluke angle converts that horizontal load into downward suction, forcing the anchor to bury itself deeper. The more it buries, the more resistance it generates as the seabed compacts around it. That resistance, a mix of friction and suction, is where your true holding power comes from, not from the anchor's mass. Think of it like aerodynamics in reverse. Lift keeps planes up, suction keeps boats still. The efficiency comes from surface area, leverage, and entry angle. So when someone brags about their 60-pound anchor on a 25-footer, they're basically hauling a shiny chunk of dead weight. The real pros brag about holding efficiency per pound. Because in the world of anchor physics, brute force is overrated, leverage, suction, and geometry win every single time. If your boat has ever dragged anchor in the middle of the night, you've already met your worst enemy: bad scope. Scope is the ratio between the length of your anchor line and the depth of the water. Sounds simple, but in physics, it's everything. The shallower the angle between your road and the seabed, the stronger your holding power becomes. At a 3-to-1 scope, you're practically trying to lift the anchor straight up. The fluke can't stay buried, and every gust weakens its grip. But at a 7-to-1 scope, the pull angle flattens, pressing the anchor deeper into the seabed and maximizing friction and suction. The secret weapon here is the catenary curve, that graceful U-shape your chain naturally forms. It absorbs shocks, distributes load evenly, and keeps the shank pulling horizontally instead of vertically. Here's a number that surprises most boaters. By simply doubling your scope from 3-to-1 to 6-to-1, your anchor's holding power can increase by nearly 400%. You didn't change your anchor, you just let gravity and geometry do the heavy lifting. So next time someone yells, "Drop more chain," don't roll your eyes. They're not overreacting. They're applying Newton's laws of motion with a touch of maritime wisdom. Anchors couldn't care less about how shiny your gel coat is. What really matters is the ground beneath them. Because in anchoring, the seabed is everything. Sand, mud, and grass all behave differently under pressure, and understanding the difference can mean the gap between a secure night's sleep and drifting towards someone's stern light in panic. Sand is the anchor's best friend. Its tightly packed grains interlock, generating high friction. Once the fluke buries, the anchor practically welds itself into place. Mud, on the other hand, plays a different game. It relies on suction, not friction, forming a vacuum seal around the fluke that holds tight until you pull too vertically or too fast. Do that, and the suction collapses instantly, setting you free like a popped cork. But the true nightmare? Grass and weed beds. The fluke can't bite through the tangled roots, causing it to skate uselessly across the surface. That's why modern designs like Rockna and Mantis feature sharp tips and roll bars. They drive the fluke downward through vegetation until it finds something solid to grip. The rule is simple. Sand loves surface area, mud rewards patience, and grass demands precision. Ignore the seabed, and physics will happily teach you humility, one drag at a time. Chain isn't just about strength, It's about shape and physics. Each heavy link adds weight that naturally forms a catenary curve, that gentle U shape lying along the seabed. This curve is the real hero of holding power. It keeps the pull angle low, allowing the anchor to stay buried under consistent horizontal tension rather than being yanked upward. As the wind builds, the chain acts like a shock absorber. It gradually straightens, lifting link by link off the bottom, transferring force to the anchor in a smooth, controlled way. The result? Far fewer jerks, less drag, and a happier night at anchor. Rope alone doesn't have this grace. It runs taut, pulls at a steep angle, and can unseat the fluke with a single hard gust, like trying to tow a plow straight up from the dirt. That's why experienced cruisers swear by a mixed road. Chain for the lower section, rope for the upper. The chain handles geometry and weight. The rope handles stretch and elasticity. Together, they create a tension balance that no single material can achieve. So when someone insists on all chain, smile and remember, anchoring isn't about the metal or the fiber. It's about mastering the curve that keeps you still. Here's a big one. Lowering your anchor gently doesn't help it set. It actually makes it worse. Anchors need momentum to bite, not politeness. When you ease it down like a fragile ornament, it just lands flat and waits. But when you let it drop with a bit of speed, the fluke hits the seabed with enough kinetic energy to dig in. That first impact is what starts the burial process, and once it's engaged, the anchor wants to pull itself deeper. Now comes the finesse. As you drift or gently reverse, apply steady, moderate thrust. Not full throttle, not idle. You want that pull to stay horizontal, keeping the fluke driving forward and downward, not popping upward. If you yank too soon, it breaks free. If you're too timid, it never locks in. It's the same principle as driving a nail. You wouldn't push it in gently, you'd strike it with precision and control. Anchors behave the same way. The perfect set is the result of three forces working together: velocity, tension, and geometry. When those align, the fluke buries deep, friction builds fast, and your anchor transforms from a piece of metal into a physics-powered safety guarantee. Every time your boat yaws or tugs at anchor, it's not just wind you're fighting, it's physics. Each sudden pull sends shock loads up your road, and without something to absorb them, that force travels straight into your bow cleats and windlass. That's where the humble snubber earns its keep. A snubber is a short length of stretchy nylon line connected between your anchor chain and a cleat. It acts like a suspension system for your boat. When gusts hit or waves tug, the snubber stretches, softening the load spike and preventing violent jerks that can unseat your anchor or crack deck fittings. Chain alone is rigid. It transmits every ounce of stress instantly. Rope stretches, dispersing that energy over time, keeping the pull angle low and consistent. Here's the science. In strong wind, dynamic loads can exceed several thousand pounds. A properly sized snubber reduces those peaks by up to 70%, keeping tension stable and preventing the anchor from breaking free. So while some skippers see snubbers as extra gear, seasoned boaters know they're essential physics in action. Think of it this way. Your snubber is your anchor's shock absorber, turning chaos into calm and keeping both your hardware and your sanity intact. Here's the nightmare every cruiser knows. Your anchor holds perfectly all night. Then at 3 a.m., the wind shifts, and suddenly you're drifting sideways toward trouble. The reason? Most anchors don't fail the first time, they fail the second. When the tide or wind reverses, the pull on your road changes direction completely. The fluke, once deeply buried, now gets yanked backward or sideways. A good anchor will roll, reset, and dig in again automatically. A bad one will pop out, flip on its back, and skate uselessly across the bottom like a curling stone. Reset performance depends on shank geometry and fluke symmetry. Scoop-style anchors like Rockna, Mantis, or Spade use roll bars or concave shapes that help them flip upright fast and bite again. Older designs like Danforth's or CQR plows often struggle, as their narrow flukes can't realign once dislodged. Physics-wise, it's all about how quickly the anchor reestablishes downward suction and friction. The faster it rolls upright, the safer you are. So if your anchor drags after a shift, it's not bad luck, it's bad geometry. The ocean's forces will always change direction. Your anchor's job is to make sure you don't. Anchors don't actually hold boats. They resist motion energy. When a gust hits or a wave lifts your boat's mass and speed generate kinetic energy that travels straight down the road. The heavier the boat and the stronger the wind, the more brutal that force becomes. That's why anchor sizing isn't just about boat length, it's about physics. A lightweight 30-footer with a low-profile cabin generates far less drag than a 30-foot trawler with tall topsides and heavy displacement. The latter behaves like a sail in the wind, multiplying the load on the anchor exponentially. In fact, when wind speed doubles, anchor load quadruples. That's why simply scaling anchor size by boat length often leads to under-anchoring or wasted weight where it's not needed. To get it right, think in terms of kinetic energy. E equals 1/2 mv squared. Your boat's m is displacement, and v is the swing speed or wind force acting against it. A properly matched anchor must absorb and resist that energy through suction, friction, and scope. So before bragging about your oversized anchor, check your physics. You don't need the biggest hook in the marina, just the one smartly matched to your boat's momentum and drag profile. A clean, well-maintained anchor isn't just about looks, it's a physics advantage. Rust, corrosion, and stiff swivels all change how energy moves through your ground tackle. Every part of your system, shackle, swivel, chain link, and fluke, transfers load, and when one part binds or weakens, the whole equation fails. Rust increases surface friction, reducing penetration and making it harder for the fluke to slice into the seabed. Corroded shackles develop micro cracks that can shear under sudden tension spikes. Even a stiff swivel can lock at the wrong moment, twisting the rode and applying force unevenly. These are small mechanical flaws, but under real anchoring loads, which can exceed a ton in heavy wind, they become catastrophic weak points. Regular maintenance is more than habit. It's preventative physics. Rinse your chain after every trip. Check that shackle pins are tight and wired. Grease your swivel and inspect welds for hairline fatigue. When metal degrades, its tensile strength drops fast, and failure happens without warning. Think of your anchor system as a chain of energy transfer. It's only as strong as its weakest link, literally. Clean metal, smooth motion, and regular checks keep those invisible forces working for you, not against you. Now you know, anchoring isn't guesswork. It's pure physics disguised as seamanship. Every angle, link, and fluke works together to tame the ocean's chaos. When you understand those forces, you stop relying on luck and start mastering control. So if this helped anchor your knowledge, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and drop a comment about your setup. Until next time, stay sharp, stay balanced, and trust the science beneath the waves.